All right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Philosophy Culture. I'm here as always with my big bro, Costin. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. And I'm here as always with my big bro Emils. What's up?
Hey, hey, yeah. And today we're gonna talk about Ray Kroc. So he's the person behind uh, McDonald's as we know it today, right?
Exactly.
And then we're gonna talk about him and how he was as a person and business model that made McDonald's as big as it is today and more.
Indeed.
So
And also something about his business philosophy, his personality, and some other traits and habits. So,
yeah, check it out.
check it out.
Okay,
All right.
so why did we choose to talk about Ray Kroc?
So yeah, Ray Kroc is kind of, or he's the man who made McDonald's big in the world and revolutionized. I don't know how I say the word, man. Wow.
Hmm.
You know
Revolu-
what I mean.
revolutionized. Yeah, okay, yeah.
The fast food industry with his business model, or he wasn't really his ish, but yeah, we'll get into that. And yeah, he's just a important person to know, I think, just because the company plays a huge role in today's society as well. Just because you know how much fast food is consumed, and yeah, I think it's a worthy conversation and a important person to at least know something about.
Exactly. Nice.
So yeah,
I think
what
you
about?
covered, yeah, I think you covered a lot, or like almost everything. But yeah, I would say it's an important person to know at least something about, because I think everyone is connecting McDonald's to somebody named McDonald's or the McDonald's brothers,
Yeah,
even though it is actually Ray Kroc that put in all the effort to revolutionize the entire uh, business,
yeah,
so to say.
industry, yeah,
Yeah, industry.
and to make McDonald's as big as it is, because
Exactly.
if it weren't for Ray Kroc, McDonald's would probably still be in the best case scenario, like a little thing in California
Exactly.
where they sell burgers and stuff. So and
Exactly.
milkshakes.
And milkshakes. But I
So
think yeah, good that you mentioned milkshake. Shall we just start from the beginning with the whole Ray Kroc
let's
story?
start with the milkshakes.
We'll
Yeah.
start with the milkshakes, or
Yeah.
the or his like first years in business, or like in, yeah, when he was selling paper cups and all that,
Yeah.
like before he started with McDonald's.
Well, it is connected. So yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Good.
So yeah, so Ray Kroc, he sold papercups. Um, kind of as far as we know, right? The thing that
Exactly.
he kind of started up with is with selling paper cups and playing piano at a radio station to yeah, make as much money as he possibly can, because he was determined to create a good life for him and his family. So he was driven to make that happen. So he worked nonstop.
Exactly. And I think he even skipped college or something, or like school, because I think it was in the beginning of the Second World War when before he started selling paper cups, he went to Europe to be ambulance to work for the Red Cross as an ambulance driver. Was it in Europe though, or was it in US, because I think they
I think
mentioned
it was in
something about
States.
Pearl Harbor. Yeah, they
I think it was
mentioned.
in the States, and also at that time when he wanted to be this what do you call it, the ambulance driver,
Yeah,
he faked his age to be able to do it, right? And there was this one other person who did the same thing, that faked also his age, right? And who was considered a weird type, to say the least.
exactly.
And that was Walt Disney, right? Who draw pictures in his tent when all the other guys went chasing girls in the town. So
Exactly. Yeah,
so that's right. That's right.
exactly. Yeah, well, and while he was working on, as a salesman, selling paper cups and also playing piano for a radio station, he came across this man called Ed, Edmund. I'm not sure about it, but it was some,
Yeah.
that was selling or actually manufacturing multi-mixers.
Yeah. That
Good.
were these machines that made milkshakes.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's how he got the sort of transition into the multi-mixer business, right? Because the multi-mixer manufacturer, Edmund or Ed, he was actually one of his customers while selling paper cups, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually he offered him to get into a partnership while Ed could manufacture multi-mixers, and Ray Kroc could basically sell or like work as a salesman and sell the multi-mixers for different companies, and so they could split the profit.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, I think he worked, for like 15 years. No, he was working 15 years in the paper cup business, right? And then
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he started working for the multi-mixer guy, and eventually also came across the McDonald's brothers.
The McDonald brothers. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So he sold, right? He sold multiple multi-mixers to the McDonald brothers out in California. Do you remember where he was located?
Was it
Or
in
where he
Chicago? I think it
lived?
was in Chicago.
Was in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think at least what the film shows us in the beginning is that he couldn't really convince many people to buy his multi-mixers, because many of the owners of different type of restaurants and cafes didn't really believe in that whole milkshake thing, yeah, exactly. But yeah, but then there were the McDonald brothers who bought multiple multi-mixers from him, and so Ray was intrigued to see what these guys were doing, and just to see their place, because also I think other customers who he had, right, they were referring to the McDonald brothers when they said they would like to buy a multi-mixer. So the McDonald brothers had already became sort of famous in a way, at least within the industry, the restaurant industry. So yeah, so he was curious to see what the McDonald brothers were up to. So he drove down, or down, up, I don't know, that drove to California to see what they were doing, and was really fascinated how they ran their restaurant, and invited them to a dinner so that he could talk more to them and so on, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and it was funny because before everything, like before he got the partnership with McDonald's for all of, for what he eventually became famous for, he was actually in, like, after he got offered the partnership, he was in the partnership just to sort of build several McDonald's stores so he could like implement more of his multi-mixers in those stores.
Yeah, but like that was like you're talking about the beginning, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, and I assume that is one of the things they talked about during the lunch, during the dinner.
Yes, exactly.
Because I remember in the podcast, he said, David Sandra said that Ray Kroc drove back. I don't know, was it that morning, that night? I don't know, but yeah, with this deal that was, I would say, done, right?
Yeah.
To create multiple locations, to be the one who would do it, basically.
Yeah. Because the McDonald's brother felt very comfortable and they didn't want any more problems with their stores and stuff.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's why they put him in charge of, sort of making sure that the whole chain is growing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting, like also during the podcast, during the story, we hear how different the McDonald's brothers are from Ray Kroc. Of course, we have this fundamental change in their vision of the restaurant. Ray Kroc wants to create multiple franchises throughout the US in the beginning, and yeah, around the world later on. But then also when the McDonald brothers didn't really support, or wasn't really on board, how Ray Kroc was doing his business as well, right? Because Ray Kroc would go all in on every single opportunity he would get, and also multiple times end up in really tricky situations, I would say, where he would sign a really bad deal and stuff. So it's interesting.
Exactly. And I also think that they, or like in their sort of contract or partnership, it was concluded that if Ray is doing any decisions, he should get the approval in a written form from the McDonald's brothers. Which,
right.
Do you remember? He made several decisions that eventually ended up kind of bad. And then he got to pay for it because he didn't have actually proved that they had approved it. Right?
Yeah,
so he couldn't prove it with any contracts or stuff.
exactly. But they had never made a written agreement on that, right? That is how
I don't remember.
that is how I understood it, because they were talking to each other that they would have this written deal, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it ever. I don't think the deal was ever like really made in written form.
Oh, it was just a mutual agreement, like verbally.
It was, yeah.
Okay.
Because there was this one incident that I remember where Ray Kroc he needed to build some sort of basement. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. For one of his stores, I think.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so what happened then?
Yeah, they
thought-
just said, I think they just said to, just go ahead and build it.
Go ahead and build it. And then when
Yeah.
he did build the basement, he got some shit basically.
Yeah.
Because he ended up in a little bit of trouble because he went ahead and actually built the basement.
Yeah.
And there were like these weird situations between the McDonald brothers and Ray Kroc.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And well, they had several fights, I think, or like fights. They had several disagreements. And I think that after a few years, Ray Kroc wanted to break the contract or the whole sort of agreement. And that would cost him millions of dollars, which he didn't have at that moment. Right.
So he ended up yeah
Yeah.
getting that money somehow, but damn.
Yeah. And yeah,
Well, like
sometime in between there, he employed Harry Sunborn, right?
Yeah.
That came up with the entire franchise idea.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Made it work. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when he actually started growing, gaining more financial success, and yeah, just expanding to the almost to the fullest potential.
Exactly.
Because I think they are still, well, yeah, I'm not sure how McDonald's is doing nowadays, but I remember that David Senner mentioned that he kept working until his death.
Exactly. Yeah. But and yeah, the business model is also so interesting. Even for me, who when I read about it or heard about it the first time, it was like, whoa. So that is how they do it.
Yeah.
It was a really, because like most of us, I was so convinced. I genuinely thought that they only were this big because of their food they were selling, right? Burgers and stuff. But when you peel down the layers, you see that how
how the whole business is built.
Yeah, and how much in the real estate they really are.
Yeah.
How much of their revenue and wealth is being built through real estate.
Yeah.
So it was an eye-opening moment for sure.
Yeah.
But basically, so the model is that McDonald's buys the property or the land, right? And then they find other investors, right, that want to, off of their name, build a restaurant where they sell the burgers and the the milkshakes and all that stuff. So they rent out the land and the property, and so the investor pays rent on the property while also selling the burgers and stuff, where the owner or the investor owner of the place gets a percentage of the revenue, and also McDonald's gets I think the most of the percentage of the revenue from those burgers and all the food they're selling.
Exactly.
I hope that I explained it correctly, But so
Yeah, I would say so. They make money out of the rent from the property,
yeah,
which the franchise owner pays, and also from the products that the franchise owners are selling.
exactly. Yeah. So it's it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a really good model.
And the biggest part comes from rents.
Yeah.
I mean, the burgers are just a small piece in the whole pie.
Yeah.
What to say?
It was like this I think I read somewhere that the burgers and the food were like the best way to like upkeep some sort of revenue, so that the investor who rented out the real estate from McDonald's could pay the rent.
Exactly.
Since it was so efficient, so to say, because people always want some more burgers and some more milkshakes. So it was working out pretty good. And it also was like this it like insulated the whole company from different financial ups and downs, basically.
Yeah. Because they owned a lot of properties, or real estate.
Exactly. So their whole, how money is the blood of the business.
Yeah.
So the money didn't have to only be coming from the burgers, that was dependent on the customers, which could be risky at times, even though burgers aren't expensive or anything. But you know how it goes. When the times get harder, people don't want to spend as much, so the revenue would had decreased if the model was set up in a way where their main revenue source was coming from the food, right? So the whole real estate idea makes sure that the business, the McDonald's business, isn't dependent on the customer per se, but it's more so dependent on the investor who pays the rent. Or what do you think about that idea? I just came up with it in my head.
Yeah. I mean, no, I think it's a good point that you said that, it's not only dependent on the customers, but the investor that is basically owning the franchise is dependent on the customers. So the whole thing is more or less dependent on customers, I would say.
Well, yeah, for sure, of course.
What they have created, like multiple income streams from one big concept, if we can say it like that. Yeah. So exactly. From the burgers and the rent, while also owning, as you said, while also making sure that they are sort of financially stable if a financial crisis occurs.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
that's the
anyway,
model.
I think yeah.
What do you think?
I think every business will be affected more or less of a financial crisis, but you get my point.
Yeah. For sure. So yeah. But so after they get big, right, or while they are on their way to becoming this global company,
yes,
Ray Kroc, he buys out the McDonald brothers, right?
Exactly.
So that he was it did it happen after he got out of the contract, which costs which cost him millions to get out of? It was like 2 million or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it was after. if I recall correctly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was after. So yeah, he bought himself out, and then he gave a piece of all of the shares to.
Yeah.
There were two persons. One was Henry Sonborn, which was basically the CFO, and which came with the whole franchise system idea.
Yeah, and
And the
also
other one,
yeah, and
do you
also was
remember?
the first president, right? He was like first. What? Wait, I will look it up. I had this here. So yeah, like no. Uh, I just had it. Harry J. Sunborn. He's the most famous for. He was like the first president or something like that. I don't know. Actually, yeah. Either way, he had like this really important position in the McDonald's company, who like we said, came up with the idea of and also made it work to expand McDonald's. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I was just about to ask you, do you remember the second person?
Well, was there a second person?
Yes, I think it was this lady that she has been working like shoulder to shoulder with Ray Kroc, in the whole building process for McDonald's.
Right.
I think David Senra said something that this lady had. It was something special. She had lost. No, she had missed all of her children's birthdays.
Yeah.
And she eventually got fired by Ray Kroc, even though she was sort of almost retired anyway.
Yeah.
But she was fired. And David Senra said that, it's funny how Ray Kroc managed to fire her because she missed all of her children's birthday and some other. I'm sure it depended on some other details as well. Not only that. But
I don't think that was the reason.
No, that wasn't the reason. But I think like the main reason was that she was like too old, or she belonged to the old part of McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You remember? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to just get a completely fresh
Freshen up.
Yeah, fresh start on the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we ended up firing her. No, and David Senra just pointed out that it was just funny how he, or like the woman was fired by a person that also had missed all of his children's birthdays.
Yeah.
Because so did Ray Kroc as well. He missed, I think, several of his child's birthdays because he was constantly working with the piano playing and paper cup business.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But it's really interesting. Do you? I don't know. Do you? What's your opinion on that? That that they missed so many of their children's birthdays and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I don't think that was the main reason to why she got fired.
No.
If we are generally talking about the idea of missing your children's birthdays, I think that would be a lesson for us all, that you should sometimes prioritize family, which he didn't do so well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He was like addicted to his business and to working.
Yeah.
But
and therefore, yeah.
He had a lot to suffer from that, actually, like relationship wise.
Exactly. He didn't have that. He had like a really bad relationship with his wife and daughter, right?
Yeah. I think they had a period where they didn't talk to each other for like 10 years, and then they finally, you know, made up. But I think he changed his wife several times. I think he had like
Three
three or
wives.
four, three
Yeah.
wives. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Jody.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice. Yeah. I don't know. I don't blame him. I don't know. I feel like if a person is that driven, I think, I don't know. He maybe just found or married the wrong women. Or
yeah,
I don't know. It's because it is complicated though, because I understand if you have a relationship, of course, your partner wants you to more or less be with them, right?
yeah,
To enjoy quality time and stuff. But it's complicated because like David Senra said in the podcast, Ray Kroc had written in the biography that he didn't feel complete unless he was married, right? He wasn't
yeah.
made out to be a what you call it, a bachelor.
Bachelor, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a really fascinating man for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I think it's great to have that high ambition, or you know, to be so driven to um you know,
Yeah.
be successful in the business you're in. But I think at the same time you should prioritize family, or like especially if you have a daughter. You know, especially the close ones. Um, so yeah, as David Senra said, he thought it was like unacceptable. He was like, you could work in the morning, you could work more in the evening or during the night, but you shouldn't skip your children's anniversary, so to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like for me this uh this area
Mm.
that we are discussing now has like more nuance to it, because let's say his daughter, it wasn't like really a planned thing, you know. The child wasn't really planned, you know how it happens many times.
Yeah.
I can somewhat understand where Ray Kroc is coming from though.
I mean, yeah, sure, but still.
and also like who's to say that you should live life a certain way, like you know how David Goggins says that you
Yeah.
should live by your own standards.
Yeah.
I don't know, of course it isn't like ideal if you really value family, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it also comes down to it also comes down to how much you value certain things, right? And how
Yeah.
much emphasis you put on certain actions
Yeah,
and people and so on.
exactly.
So yeah. Um, but otherwise, do you think, or would you say, like, do you have something you learn from this? If you have to choose one thing,
Of course, I
or something
learned
you want to point out. Yeah.
I learned how McDonald's is run on a very basic level, of course, but we know the basics, I would say, right? And what I learned. Personally, I don't know. I just loved his. I love to hear about his ambition. Personally,
Mm,
wasn't maybe something learned, but I don't know. It had an effect on me.
yeah.
So, and also one thing that I really learned is that you should have some legal representation when you do deals, right? Because he was doing all the deals by himself and ended up in really yeah, interesting and expensive situations.
Yeah.
So yeah, what about you? What were some highlights for you that you learned, or
Some highlights. Well, I would say one thing is obviously that we learn about the whole McDonald's concept and how everything started, and the foundation, very briefly said, the foundation
yeah,
of the entire business. Then I absolutely loved his or what we could hear from it was like his ambition and his drive and motivation to get things done and make it work.
yeah,
And he was like really obsessed with making it perfect. So I found that like really, really interesting and really cool. Then I also thought about, in the end of the whole podcast by David Senra, he said that a business is not like a painting where you just take the final where you do the final touch and then you just hang it on the wall and just look at it, but it has to be maintained sort of constantly. So I think that's also that's very obvious, but I think the way he said it is just really cool. And that you always have,
I really loved the metaphor he used with the painting and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit confused by that statement though, because if he was successful and he owned the majority of the company, couldn't he just had liquidated his what you call it, like sold his equity in the company, and and just drove off and drove off in the sunset, it's
I mean, I guess he could, but I think he was
as
he was
like
mentioning
a
that
exit
McDonald's
strategy.
was a religion for him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So he couldn't just do it. And I just about the painting metaphor, it's just a thing that when you get to a certain level, you also have to maintain it. So it's not just to hang it up on the wall. And I don't. It doesn't necessarily have to be applied to every business, but it could just be in life as well, or in sports, or what you want to apply it to,
No, for sure. Like as long as
just,
you are involved in something, for sure that metaphor applies.
Yeah, I think just life in general, right? You have to keep going. You can't just yeah. And then another thing that I found very interesting was that it's getting really dark behind me here. No, but the thing is, David Senra said something about connecting the points. You can't connect the points in the future, but you have to look back and see how the points were connected in the end. And that was like really, really cool to just think about. And I think every individual could do that, like where, like, what got me here and how did I end up in this position or in this situation,
Yeah, like I guess it's good to know, but I don't know. Doesn't the concept seem obvious to you? I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't anything like eye-opening for me.
Yeah, no, it wasn't eye-opening, but I just think that it was good. It was just good. It was just a good. It was just a good. It was just a good. I mean, it wasn't eye-opening, but I think that some people.
I think sometimes it's just good to have that in mind, or like keep it in mind, and just see, like, if you end up in a good or bad situation, whichever it is, maybe you could just look back and see what habits, what actions took you where you are.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, for
So
sure.
just as a general reflection
Method or
method, yeah, you could have, yeah.
right. No, I agree. For sure.
So a massive thank you guys for listening to today's episode. We really hope you enjoyed this episode about Ray Kroc and who he was as a person and how he managed to make the whole McDonald's boom. We would also like to point out that this episode is based on David Senra's Founders episode, which is further based on the book Grinding It Out. And so, finally, we would like to say that we hope that this episode, together with previous episodes, has made it easier for you to navigate life's spin.
Yeah, exactly. And comment down below what you think about this episode, what you learned, and what you think about Ray Kroc as a person. And yeah, also subscribe while you're at it so that we can follow each other's journeys. Yeah, until next time.
Adios.